John was like, probably shouldn't
Yeah, use that.
this much to rebuild, and then it goes like,
No.
oh, I'll figure it out. He's like, I'll figure out how to rebuild it.
All within a block unit to remake.
Yes.
Right, you gotta justify getting one instead of having somebody else cut it all for you, you know? It's not like he's doing a million.
Well, the max, the thing is kind of. The laser goes like this and the table. You don't want that flash goes out, it's hard. The table is actually.
And our bad budget.
The laser's actually a lot more.
Yeah, you're saying
He's taken?
Protect us in the middle or surround us?
I am gone next week. I'm traveling to the whole week. Well, I'm running to-
When they came in, golf and all that, when they came in the office, shoot.
So you're not like.
You just want to sit?
Nope. I think I'm like, oh, this person's spot over there. It is a full house. Oh, that's nice. What the hell? There's twins. I don't know. But I had these own shoulders.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gone back home the, 5 years, 3 to 5 years. Make sure your mics are turned on.
Okay, we'll start the city council meeting for January the 9th, 2024. We'll start with pledge of allegiance. If you can stand over your head here, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council members, Lee Scholander. Present. Kim Helgeson.
Here.
Here. Mary Bailey.
Here.
Molly Ryan here. Mayor Henke is here. City Administrator Mark Paulson.
Here.
City Attorney Scott Riggs.
Here.
City Attorney Derek Olander.
Engineer? Yep.
Okay. Public Works is here, we have the police department, and also finance director is here is available. So, we will start then with citizens' comments. And that, there you are, I'm sorry.
Well, I'd just like to say hi again, thank you for anyone here who doesn't know me. My name is Todd Gressett, and I'm District 3 County Commissioner. So I live, Kenyon is one of the communities that I represent, so just want to stop periodically and say hi and see if you have anything for me. We do have our goal session for the year. Tomorrow night, we meet in Wanamingo, so if there's any items that you'd like me to bring forward, we can, for the county, we can sure take a look at it. We did pass a ordinance for transfer stations. You know, the one in Wanamingo did get closed down. The demo landfill had to be closed, but the transfer station, we've been trying to keep going temporarily, but that hasn't worked out. So now anybody that wants to have a transfer station can apply in Union County. So still have to go through your local office or your local township or city. But, it's gonna be a tough fall. It's not gonna be easy, because I've been looking into this for a long time, so we might have to come up with a solution where the county does somewhat stay involved. So garbage is a big thing, and we don't want it in our township dishes, we don't want it strewn out around town so that you have to deal with it either, so. Is there anything else for me?
Todd, one thing, I was gonna tell you, the EDA annual meeting, you should come if you're open, is
Okay.
Tuesday, January 30th at 9 AM at Fullcraft.
Okay.
So that's like kind of the same when you talk about goal setting, strategic plan, that's the city's version of that.
Perfect, perfect. And what time is that?
9 AM.
A meeting in Red Wing at 8, so I'll do my best to get here.
Yeah, I understand. Just want you to be aware of it.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you for all you do. It's exciting to see these young firefighters gonna step up, so. Us old guys have been on a long time, it's just fun to see this new, young, strong guys, so.
Well, hang in here a little bit, and we'll introduce them very shortly on
Okay.
the list here, so.
Yep.
Okay. Is there any other ones, citizens' comments? Ask again. If not, we will go on to adopt the agenda. There been any changes, Mark?
No, I don't have any additions.
Okay.
What you have here.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion has been made, second to adopt the agenda as is. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes pass, okay. Okay, the next one here is consent agenda. Approval of the minutes and appointments. And also finance is in on that too. But what we would like to do is go to item B, which is approve the Kenyon Fire Department volunteers. And if our fire chief would introduce quickly, we would appreciate it.
So, with Jeremy Yeager to be our new assistant chief, and then with the committee, we were chosen Logan Meyer, Jed and Josh Johnson, and Isaiah Thompson as our new members. And Caleb Langer.
Yay, thank you.
Okay. So we'll go back to it again, doing the consent agenda, approval of the minutes and finance. We can do all three of those at one time. Need a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion has been made, so you want the other one, approval of the minutes and
And
finance.
minutes, appointments,
And
approval.
finance.
And
Okay.
finance.
Okay. Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes pass, okay. Okay, presentations, public hearings, recognition, proclamations. Item A is Brett Reed, Rebound Partners. you wanna move that, up closer, that would be fine, or so that the rest can hear also what's going on.
This, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, well, Mayor Hankey, Kenyon City Council, City Administrator, and Kenyon staff, appreciate the opportunity to share today relating to a project, a real estate project here in Kenyon. Some of you have heard this before, or you've heard a presentation before on this project, and we're looking at potentially pivoting a little bit here too, so there's gonna be a little bit of new information here too to consider and to think about here. And so again, very pleased to be here. My name is Brett Reese with Rebound Partners, Northfield, Minnesota. And Mark's gonna hit the slides here, and we've got just a short presentation, about 15 minutes to share, and then open it up for questions, comments that you might have. Okay? So if we get started here, I'm going to make a few opening comments regarding the project. We're going to look at the site, the project itself, an overview, talk a little bit about the city of Kenyon and potential participation, and then we'll share a little bit about our team, our background, and then next steps and the timeline and next steps. Okay? In terms of the opening comments here, so why are we here? So we have a project, and you guys have a copy of this too, right, on your screen there too? Okay. So let's go ahead there, Mark, and hit the, okay. So what we're looking at doing is taking a facility that closed back in 2002 and making a project of market rate apartments. And it was a nursing home, assisted living, and we're looking at potentially a renovation. And also now, the pivot I'm talking about is a potential new build too, where we could use the existing Gunderson and potentially take down the Kenyon Sunset Homes portion due to the cost and the age and that type of thing. So we have a little bit of pivot here. Is that moving? Okay. All right. And so it's sort of a unique opportunity here, given the footprint and given what we can do in terms of investment in the community with market rate and potentially affordable apartments based on AMI, average median income for the county here. And then also looking for your feedback, your input, questions, comments, and also is there a way for the city to participate also in this project? So as we go here again, looking at the end here, looking for your feedback, questions, comments, and those types of things. If you look at the site, you can see the site there. Next slide there, Mark. Is it frozen?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking, hang on. Let me see if I can-
That's okay too, so if you have it in front of you too, you can.
There you go.
There you go, okay. So you can see, you're probably very familiar with the site there on Highway 60. It's approximately almost 3 acres, 2.75 acres. You can see it's sort of a zigzag there. And in terms of the project overview, again, it was the former senior assisted and memory care facility, closed in '22. Jerry Anderson purchased at the end of August of '23 here via an auction. Our plan is to purchase the property from Mr. Anderson and renovate the Gunderson Gardens part of it. And then we were looking at renovating the Kenyon Sunset homes there, but again, as I shared, we're looking at potentially pivoting and looking at 35, 36 unit apartment on that facility, along with Gunderson Garden and the clinic there also. Okay? This would be in terms of the Gunderson Garden, this would be the types of finishes that the apartments would have. They're 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom. We're looking at potentially having this portion being maybe a 50-plus wing of apartments, market apartments. If you want to keep going there with lots of different amenities, community room, fitness room, laundry. Where the memory care used to be, we're looking at 4 new units that we'd be finishing out, and they would have their own, those 4 units would have their own separate entrance, along with 16 other units in the Gunderson Garden portion there. There'd be storage units also, community room, and again, different amenities that we have here. I'm not gonna talk too much about this right here. We were looking at initially renovating the Kenyon Sunset Suites, but based on cost and based on the condition of the building, when it comes to the HVAC, the electrical, the plumbing and everything, it might be more advantageous to take that Kenyon Sunset down and put up a new apartment that will be showing a picture of that. But I'm really interested in your feedback too, because, some people were looking, at building the 60s, and, it can potentially be retrofitted, but, we potentially have 2 ways to go on this, okay? On the new apartment development, if we go that route and take down Kenyon Sunset, so here is the Gunderson right here, the clinic here, and then along with 20 apartments here, maybe 50, 55 plus, and then a 35, 36 unit apartment here, taking down the Sunset, potentially could have underground parking, which I think would be a really nice amenity. Or they're parking here, parking on the street, parking across the street, so we're still a little bit fluid on the cost of what it would be to put up the underground parking in, and what it would be a valuable amenity to have. It's a higher cost when it comes to renting and such, so, but it is a really nice benefit to have heated underground parking too. The clinic, we've had some conversations with Northville Hospital CEO, Steve Underdahl, and he has shared that the clinic is doing really well here in Kenyon. They got a great staff and doctor that's here. They're very pleased with how things are going here. So they have a 2-year lease right now, and we'd like to work with them to extend that lease too. I think it's a really good benefit to have a clinic like this here providing the healthcare services and jobs and dollars churning locally, and the medical services that they provide. So we'd really like to work in keeping them there and even extending the lease there too. But they also want to see this building brought back to life too. They don't like to be part of something that's sort of dead and closed and that kind of thing too. So we've been working on the project after Jerry bought it in August. We started sort of in November looking at it. We've had some meetings with some community people, the city, the EDA, different organizations and such, working closely with Security Bank of Kenyon here, along with their partner, Profinium Bank. We're meeting with some individuals in terms of raising some equity. I'll share a little bit about more what that might look like, which is, I guess we can talk here. So if we did just the renovation of Gunderson, Kenyon Sunset, and the home, it'd be about a little over a $6 million project, okay? But if we took the Sunset down and built this 35, 36 unit, we're looking at about an $8.5 million project. Again, and continuing to have Gunderson with the 20 units, and then also the clinic there. Our group, I'll share a little bit more on our group a little bit later, but we're looking at raising about $1.5–2 million of equity from investors, including ourselves, and then some subordinated debt, and then bank debt. And you can see then, is there some working with the city to help maybe fill some gaps and that kind of stuff, the city, the EDA, or other sources that might be available through programs that you have. And when it comes to city assistance, is there tax increment financing, low interest loans, and the state legislature came out with some programs too, on some grants with some housing and that kind of thing. So with today's interest rates for being high, going from 4% on construction to over 8%, more than doubling, and construction costs, you have a gap on some of these projects, and what might be available here to assist in getting this project across the finish line.
If you have a big project like this, and I mean, like say, next year or something, can
can you go back, like, just like any of us could go refinance our house or something?
Yeah.
Is it similar, can you do that in a big project like this?
Good question, and then the question was, can you refinance, it's a little harder when you
Okay.
work on a project like this, because the bank wants to sign you up for like 5 years of
Sure.
a fixed rate. And so if you go a variable rate, there's risk there too, our rate's gonna go up, or they're gonna go down, do you wanna fix it? So, it's not as flexible as, say, a home mortgage type thing.
Okay,
So it'd probably be a couple of years at today's rates,
sure,
and maybe after 3 years, maybe it could potentially go down. Or you sign a note and there could be a prepayment clause penalty type thing, where your rates are here, they're going down to here. The penalty might be such that pay the penalty and you get a lower rate, so that could be available too.
okay, so that's not as easy as,
Yeah, but it's a possibility. I mean, you look at all the different options and costs and benefits and that kind of stuff, so. But
okay,
today's marketplace, it's, the rates we're seeing out there is, about 8% plus, annual interest rate. We don't need to talk, let me just go through a little bit more, maybe we'll come back to this slide, because I'm really curious to get on feedback as to, are there programs available, working with your EDA, working with CETA, that type of thing, as to what might be available. Now I'm going to step back and just share a little bit about our organization and who we are and who we're partnering with and that kind of stuff. So we're located in Northfield, not too far from here. Used to play basketball in high school against Kenyon. You guys had a great team back in the 70s. I'm dating myself. So, we have an organization called Rebound Real Estate. We do acquisition, we do development, lots of different projects that I'll show you here a little bit. Robosity is an organization we started that we create real estate funds in communities across Minnesota. We're currently in 14 different communities, all the way from like Northfield, Faribault, Owatonna, Winona, Albert Lee, Austin, Lake City, Red Wing, etc. Kenyon is a little small for us to start a fund. We're normally a real estate fund. We're normally in communities of 20, 30,000 people. But this project attracted us because it's close to Northfield, 30 minutes or so. And if we work on a project like this, maybe there's more projects in Kenyon that we can work on when it comes to real estate. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. And then G&H Properties is one of our arms of we do property management, leasing, and brokerage too. And then some of the outside partners we're working with is Security Bank here locally. We like to work locally, keep those dollars churning locally. Because of the size of the loan, they brought in a partner called Kenyon Bank out of Owatonna that they partnered with before. We look to have NCC Builders, Norfolk Construction, who put up the facility back in 2004. Gunderson Garden also did a 2016, they did some additional work on it. So they would probably be the party that would lead the renovation of Gunderson, along with potentially the building of that apartment. When it comes to our organization, if you're familiar with Northfield, that's our corner of 5th and Division there. That's one of our projects called the Reunion, Eat, Drink, and Gather, where we took 3 buildings on Main Street, renovated them, put a nice little restaurant in there. You can see the project behind it, that's ours also, called 5th Street Lost, a 79-unit apartment in downtown Northfield. You can see all the different areas where we play. We're an investment and management company. We like to make investments, work with communities and manage those investments. So you can see the different verticals that we play in. We do a lot of food and beverage. We're in hotels, historic hotels, branded hotels. We make investments in people and companies, and we're very heavily involved in real estate manufacture, in real estate acquisition, development, brokerage, leasing, and property management, and then also our Robosity community real estate funds that we've been creating across primarily southern Minnesota. Some of our projects, we have a lot of real estate expertise. Again, I'm going to date myself. I bought my first building downtown Northfield in 1982, and still own that building today. It's part of the Reunion restaurant, so we do take long-term views. We are not an organization that comes in and does a project and leaves. We really like to stay involved for 5, 10 years plus. You can see some of the projects that we've done here, all the way from branded hotels, like we did the Marriott Fairfield in Decorah. We did one in Northfield here. We've done housing developments up to 120 acres. We love to take old buildings and renovate them and fix them up. For example, the corner, the middle picture there on the right-hand side, that was the old Bierman Furniture Building. There are 3 people working in that building. We purchased it 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and now there's over 30 people living and working in that building through the renovation that we did to utilize the second floor for housing and brought in 3 businesses there to downtown Northfield. Again, we like working on old buildings and bringing them back to life, utilizing second and third floors. We like empty buildings, repurposing them, bringing them into the community, and then also developments of hotels and restaurants and those kinds of things. You can see some of the areas that we have real estate funds established. And how it was created was, not everybody can own real estate. And we said, you know, let's give people, individuals, businesses, nonprofits that have investment portfolios to invest in their backyard where they live and where they work. We created our first fund in Northfield in 2011. You can see we've created 2 more funds in Northfield. And you can see how we spread out into these different communities. Smith, Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, invests with us in every community that we go into. So you can see we really want to make a difference. What are the real estate needs of Northfield or Faribault or Kenyon, and how can we address those needs, be it housing, your downtown, your commercial district, lodging, those types of things. And then we try to work together to meet those real estate needs in the community. So next step, we really need to focus in on, you know, I guess the big question for us as we work forward on this is, I think Gunderson's sort of a no-brainer, fixing that up, getting those 20 apartments going, and then the Kenyon Sunset, does it come down? Do we put up a new apartment? So that's a big decision we have to make here, looking for some community input on that one. And then working with the city, with the EDA, securing our financing with Security Bank of Kenyon, raising equity locally. So when it comes to the equity side, we have investors that work with us, and we will be investing in Kenyon in this project, but we also like to get local individuals, community leaders, business leaders, and nonprofits that have investment portfolio to invest with us on projects like this. We've talked to some of your industry here in town. There's at least one that will probably be investing in this project. They want to see housing, you know, letting people both live and work in the community here. So timeline-wise, we're looking at, if all goes well, maybe closing on the purchase from Mr. Anderson sometime in February, and then working on Gunderson, and then if we do go the route of a new apartment, maybe working on taking Kenyon Sunset down this summer, fall, and beginning construction on a new apartment. Okay. I'm gonna questions, comments that you might have, and then I'd like to maybe go back to that slide too to see what might be available working with the city, working with EDA. Zach at CEDA has reached out and said there might be some grant programs available if there is, if we do put up a new apartment building and such by taking down Kenyon Sunset, that type of thing. So, okay.
I do have a question.
Yes.
With the new apartment development, if you were to go that route, the historic home, that's gonna be gone, so there would not be a BVRO, a VRBO for that then?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Because we were looking at, taking that Kenyon Sunset with that home, potentially having within that site 5 or so VRBO extended in-type inns. Yeah.
That would be a definite plus for the
I know.
town. There's no
Well, that's,
places to rent.
I'm on the same page, I was gonna ask this similar question, it's just so embedded.
Mhm.
you know, that little house in there is so cool, and it would be a shame to lose it, because it's so embedded, but it's just maybe one of those things we might have to
Here's the deal now. I love
sacrifice.
history.
I know,
When you
but-
look at Northville, the buildings that we've done downtown and how we've renovated them, we try to preserve and maintain and enhance these old facilities.
Yeah,
The costs that we've gotten to bring that thing up, the HVAC, the wiring, the plumbing, up to code and such, it's like cost prohibitive.
right, well, no, and I agree, like, I think it's, I mean, you know,
So it's hard, I mean.
It's
so
hard,
It's
it's-
tough,
it's
I
both.
like the idea of having a place for people that come into town just for the weekend.
yeah,
I mean, Schweitz's restaurant used to have
yeah.
the rooms up there and.
Yeah, I think that, again, if we can get if we get involved here, I think there are, I mean, walking your streets, there's a lot of second floors that aren't utilized. You know, they're just empty, they're vacant, you know? And can we, like we do in Northville, take those second and third floors, and we just recently worked on a project in Northville, 411 and 413 Division, where we made 2 of those units in the VRBO's extended stays. It doesn't have to be at this particular location, it can be at another location too, where you bring that in. I hear it loud and clear, there's a market for it, and your community would sure like to have it, and I think it maybe needs to be at a different location.
Yeah, that's hard, because that place is so cool in there. But it's, have you been in there? It's like so wonderful, it's so beautiful, but, and so it's frustrating because I think, I don't know, but it's like probably better if you demolish the Sunset Home. I mean,
If I
it
could
probably-
say, one of the other challenges with that home is
There's one up,
access.
Jen.
It's so-
Access to it.
Yeah, it's embedded, yeah.
And the hard part is even if you took the old Sunset down, how are you accessing this house?
Yeah.
We've struggled with this whole plan because I can't get a
Go back
driveway
with
off
the
of
trail,
Highway
right.
60. And so to get access, then you have to come very far back into the property, and there's setbacks on 2 sides of this, so you really have to position this. And looking at this, I so wanted to save all of this, and I so wanted to be able to provide all of it. But when it came to the numbers, it was just so hard for people to invest in something they couldn't predict where the expenses were gonna be in 5 years. And to build from the ground up new would be such a better investment for the community, better quality of life for those that live in it. And who's to say, maybe it can be, a couple of the units could be Airbnbs. Because the key is, what I hear is there any way that we could get housing, overnight housing somewhere? And again, I always pray on things, and something always comes up that ends up being better than what we were trying to do.
Well, and the underground parking would just solve so many problems as well. I mean, I get it, because we all want, I'm like a sucker for that too, but when it comes to like
Yeah.
being practical,
And what is the best use for the site, and what
Yeah.
is gonna be the most beneficial to the community?
I think this is the house here, right there?
yeah.
See, if you are gonna try to put an apartment, if this comes down and you try, you just really can't save it. I hate to say that, because I just love to preserve and maintain and enhance and.
Otherwise, based on code right now, to get to it, if we left it all up, you've gotta access this home from all the way over here, where you've already created an easement. You've already got a driveway, you'd have to go all the way in this way to get to it. You
From the
take out-
Gunderson house.
From all the way from over here to
Mhm.
get to it. I've got no other way to get to that house, because you can't get access off of Highway 60. So again, we met all these challenges, we kept kind of putting numbers to it and possibilities to it, and I'm a huge visionary, but it was like, okay, where are we gonna be in, 10 years in Kenyon, and how can we best serve the community with this idea and save this property?
So when we met with potential community leaders and investors, we had a couple sessions, getting feedback and such, and we presented to the EDA here. And at that time, we talked about,
So let's save it.
for saving the house, preserving that, working within Kenyon Sunset, but the costs, and you put all this money into it, you still got a facility that's,
Dated.
80 years old, 70 years old, and versus a new facility that you can carry on for the next 100 years.
And the other thing too is you'd end up with units that are only about 370 square feet.
Some units are very
Some of
small.
them, very small, and so who are you attracting?
Yeah.
Who are, is it just getting your, 18-year-old out of the house?
Well, and
for
it was,
a
and it
year?
was cool, it's cool, they didn't walk through there, it was very,
It was
all the
neat.
ideas were very, but that seems just like, even money, I don't know money, you guys are better with that, but it's like, it's hard, it was a hard job, and you have all those concrete walls. And-
Yes.
Yeah,
So
it's just a lot, it's a lot, and then structurally, can
And
you
then
knock
ask
these walls
people-
down, and then the way, yeah, all the heating and cooling.
Yeah, and then to ask people to invest in that.
Yeah, right, no,
And
that's
the
hard.
And the feedback we were getting for some of the individuals that we met is it really good to put that kind of money into it?
Something so
And
old.
they didn't really, a couple of people said, I just don't think it's the right thing to do.
Right.
And
That's
they
where
didn't- and
we
they
came
didn't
back
want, and
to.
they didn't want to invest, and we said, oh boy, if we're
Yeah.
gonna get this project across the finish line, we need to have, we're looking for, some good, strong community investors here.
Yeah,
And an investment that's gonna be there for a while.
yeah, I think it's a trade, I mean, I don't wanna make it, but we might have to just make it, yeah.
And my question is, how do you vet your tenants? Like, if we get tenants in here, so do we do background checks and all this stuff? And what if there's complaints? How do you address that?
Complaints, you mean after it's up and running?
Yeah, so my neighbors are loud, lots of noise complaints, yada, yada, yada. Do you have somebody close by that can handle that, or how does that work?
Yeah, so in our underwriting, we have there'll be a property manager.
On
And
site?
they'll be on site at a minimum, probably 20 hours a week. And so we have a lot of experience. We've got probably over 1,000 units that we have that we manage now through our property management. So we have a lot of experience on, like you mentioned, going through the vetting process, the application process, doing checks, that kind of stuff. And then when issues, we'll have a part-time maintenance person to them, but when issues arise, they're dealt with.
And, do you have any policies on animals and so forth? Does it vary from town to town, unit to unit?
Yeah, it's more unit to unit, but, what do you think, Jenna? Would you?
I love dogs.
Yeah.
I think they're great companions, especially in the 50 and older. So we've got two different, entities. Initially, it's just getting the 50, the Gunderson side up and going. And I think that pets, dogs, there's so much green space, good companionship. I'm always for it, but again, it's up to the management company. We can have some influence, but they're better at,
I'll make some recommendations,
yeah, they're better at making those decisions. But I would be like, please.
Thank you.
In all the investments that you have done in the past here, how does this rate in size-wise? Is this a smaller
Sure.
project for you, or a bigger
Yeah,
project?
we look
or
at the numbers
big,
slide
big, or
here.
what?
Yeah, so we've done projects as small as a few $100,000 to up to $15-20 million plus. So it falls on the, a little bit in the middle, in the maybe a little bit of the lower end. But, yeah. So, it's a sizable project, it's a big investment, and it's, it's in our sweet spot.
Okay, I just wondered.
Yeah, we've done apartments across southern Minnesota, minimum of 60 to 100 apartments, but here we probably use a little smaller it's a smaller footprint, and I think 36. There've been some nice apartments on Northfield, about 36 per building, I think a nice building would fit there on that one.
Have you had anything to do with the counties themselves? Helping financially?
You mean help from the counties?
Yes.
The biggest thing we probably have is gone through tax center financing, where the county has participated in that.
The county commissioner for us was just here
Yeah.
and that with it, so.
Yeah, no, I think we'll work with CETA here and then see what that might be available in terms of that, in terms of other grants too, and, it's gonna be interesting, this, the property, while it was operating, was assessed at this value. It sold at auction at this value. So there's a big gap there, and we're buying it right here. So there's sort of a gap there of what the current assessment is versus, what we're paying.
I know you mentioned something about getting started this summer, spring, summer, and doing something. Have you got some kind of a timeline on this, or is it all kind of bear on financing?
Two things, it starts with the project itself. What project are we gonna do? Are we gonna I think Gunderson, again, I think Gunderson is a straight, a good thing to do with the clinic there. But then it goes to take Kenyon down, Sunset down, and we build, or do we renovate it, or do we build new? And I think right now we're building new, looking for any other feedback. You shared, Mary, anybody else that's want to weigh in, they can. So it's the project, once you get the project, then it's the financing, and then it's the closing, and then you start working on it. We've got our construction people lined up, they're doing some more architectural work on it. And if all goes well, we would close on the purchase in February. We hope to have Gunderson done February, March, maybe start renting in April of this 2024. And then the build on this, it's probably about it's almost a 10 to 12 month build on the new part.
Yeah, I think too, you'd probably take it down.
Yeah.
That's, because you can, pouring money into something, I mean, you're renovating, but you're still
Yeah.
old yet, there's problems with it. And you pointed out a good one was the driveway. That's been a major concern from what I've heard, you know, out on the street.
The other thing too, I would ask the city of Kenyon is if there's anything through the city, the county, or the state when it comes to the demolition of that property, considering it may be considered blight. You know, if it can't be renovated because of costs, can it be considered blight? Is there any programs? I know we've gotten a lot of help in Faribault for taking down or cleaning up sites. Is this a possible cleanup section or site, Mr. Riggs?
Share something on that, Zach?
Yes, so for redevelopment tips, and I'm Zach Lubani, by the way. I've been filling in for the CETA position here for Kenyon here since, help me, Chris? Since when? October. And so regarding blight conditions, if we're speaking specifically for a redevelopment tip, I always tell people there's a lot of those requirements are, I don't like saying the word loose, but you could probably, especially with a project like this, just from face value, you could make that argument relatively successfully to qualify those costs. The real question when you talk about redevelopment tip is the improvement of the building from the current value, what is valued at, to what it will be if you were to consider a renovation versus the taking down of, is that substantial enough to help, is the increase in value substantial enough to capture enough of the increment there? So that's the real question. When we talk about, and we briefly discussed this about 5 minutes before the meeting, there is a program through Minnesota Deed called the Deed Redevelopment Grant. And it is called redevelopment, but a big chunk of the qualifying costs or eligible costs for that program is the tearing down of the actual structures. It can be confusing. We're sometimes confused that as, you know, if you're breaking down walls and renovating, is that considered demolition? And a lot of times it isn't. So with the idea of a possible new plan of the taking down of the building, you may open the door to more funding through that program specifically, because it does like the idea of tearing down the entirety of a structure and then building new, which they consider to be redevelopment. There are some different eligible costs, you know, such as asbestos abatement that can be thrown in there if you were to do not a tear down, but it's normally not, I would say that's a very small percentage of what that project normally funds. And that was kind of the conversations we've had so far. Housing tip is a little bit of a different conversation, but that can also be explored. But I think for a program or for a project like this, a lot of that will naturally revolve around redevelopment tip, and not to say that it can't have an improvement and increase. It would have to do with what would the reassessment of the building be? Is that low enough? What are the improvements going to be? So all of those conversations still do need to happen. So it's not that it can't happen, but I would say with the larger $8.5 million renovation and new build, there is other outside sources beyond just TIF now that we kind of open up to. So that's kind of what I'd say.
So that's sort of the direction that we look at. We'd like to work with Mark and the city and with Zach and CETA and the EDA here and just see what we can try to put together as a project, put together a financing capital stack and then come back and present it in here, so, or share it with you.
Yeah, the EDA will be talking about this on the 30th, and probably in more detail and talk more specifics, you know, areas that, especially with the new construction, that we might be able to get involved with. So,
Okay,
Well, thank you
All
for
right,
the
any other
update.
questions or comments?
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on then with engineering. And we'll start with item A, which is general project update. And it's item 1 is Earl Creek sanitary sewer improvements. Eric, or Derek, I should say, would you like to go for this?
Thank you, Mayor. So just a quick one for this one, there's a little bit of electrical work that was done over this past month. We took advantage of some of the warm weather. So we just had a pay application number 3 to BCM construction, that's for approval. That one's in the amount of $16,078.75.
I'll make a motion to approve pay request number 3 to BCM Construction for $16,078.75.
I'll second it.
Okay. Has been a motion made, second. To approve the pay request number 3 to BCM Construction for $16,078.75. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Ayes pass. We'll get the check for you.
Thank you. So next thing, given that we're starting a new year here, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to just kind of review some of these projects that are upcoming. If you remember back to our last significant discussion on capital improvement planning, infrastructure management plan, we have a large project planned for 2025. So as we come into 2024 here, it's really not too long until we start taking some significant steps forward in the planning process for those. Just to kind of recap, we kind of closed out the year with that funding application through local road improvement program for the 6th Street project. That project is currently scheduled for the year 2028, but what we put in that funding application was 25. If we get a little bit of luck and that grant funding is awarded, then we'd be looking at opportunities to accelerate that forward. And we take some of our current projects that are planned in 2025 and shift them back. So it's just making things work so there's no cash flow issues during those years. But that's all contingent upon a very competitive grant program. I heard there was about $400 million worth of requests submitted to that program, and there's only about $100 million available. So very competitive. We'll see what happens. Over on the other side of town, County Road 12, that one, regardless of what happens with 6th Street, would very likely move forward for 2025. That's a joint project with the county that we'd be doing. So the next significant step on that one would be putting together some type of partnership agreement with them. We've initiated that conversation. We expect in the next couple of months here that we'd be able to come back with some more details on that. Regardless, that 2025 project would include assessments. So the first step on any project with assessments is going to be putting together a feasibility report, initiating some public hearings, neighborhood meetings, that type of thing. So in the coming months here, we'll be starting that process. I have some more details in the letter there. Just wanted to bring this up so you guys are aware of what's coming up. Not caught off guard with anything. Do you have any questions with any of that? Concerns?
On the later one, street, are you in utility? What are you gonna do, pull the whole street up? Is that what the plan is, or are you gonna move it over?
The very high level plan is a full reconstruction, and if I'm remembering right, just the water main needs to be replaced, or maybe it's just the sanitary sewers. One of the utilities needs to be replaced. Water needs to be replaced, okay.
There's no sewer.
No sewer there, okay.
Yeah, I think there's only a 2-inch or something in there that goes down to the north.
Sure. It's not the
From
amount of utilities on a lot of other streets, but there is some utility.
Yeah.
And that one's kind of getting to be in rough shape.
Is that gonna be a full bore street? I mean, with curving and the whole?
We'd have to figure that out as part of the preliminary process, but that's all part of the
Well, it's coming out of my pocket.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll be very interested in it, so.
You bet. So, okay.
Okay, well, yeah, just, like I said, just information only on that one, just to let you know what's kind of coming up with that. Moving on, this next one is a proposal for making some changes to the city's GIS system. Before I get into this, nod your head yes or no. Would it be worth just a quick minute to go over what is GIS?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. When we're talking about managing all the city's infrastructure information, I'll talk about this from the perspective of streets and utilities and stuff like that. This GIS program is Global Information System. The way that I think of it is it's a location-based means of managing data associated with your utility systems. So if we use this, I'm looking at maybe a random sanitary sewer pipe throughout town. The old way of managing data, if I want to know, in any particular street, what's going on with this sanitary sewer pipe, I can bring up a map, and I can look up an old as-built plan, and I can say, okay, this segment of sanitary sewer pipe is 8-inch pipe. I can go back in this plan over here, and that'll tell me that it was clay pipe that was put in. When's the last time that we jetted that pipe or televised the pipe? Well, Wayne could go back through his filing cabinet and probably dig up an old VHS tape that has all that information. All this information is scattered, right? So it's very difficult to, how you bring it all into one location. Well, one of the things that GIS does is you can use location-based mapping, basically a line that represents that pipe. And by clicking on that, you can access all sorts of information. So that's what the city is currently utilizing this. And what we're talking about is kind of stepping this up so we can do a little bit more customized work that Public Works and Kenyon wants to do moving into the future here. We have GIS people, GIS professionals that do nothing but GIS and that type of programming all day, every day, all year long. So in terms of this proposal, that's Bolton and Menk's part of it. We'd just be providing that GIS professional that can help with this. In terms of what the city's actually getting, is we'd be moving over to a system that's basically fully in control of the city. So you can make timely updates to this mapping and data system. We can customize it exactly the way that we want it. That may mean one thing here right now. It's probably going to mean something completely different in the next 5 years. It's one of the beauties of this type of software is it's a living, breathing thing, and it takes a lot of updates and management in order to become useful. What's in the proposal here is to move over to basically, we'll call it a city managed system. You'd be creating an account with a company called Esri. Just in order to set that up, one of our GIS people would be setting up that system. That's the first 3 tasks of the overall proposal. And then the last 3 tasks on there is actually some customized setup that we've been talking about with Wayne over the past year or so here, mostly related to the sanitary sewer system and some custom tools and data that he wants for that system. Is that making sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
very.
this is a new cost though? Even the $12.60 per year, is that a new cost?
That is replacing some old costs. I guess I don't know exactly what you guys were paying before.
We pay the county $2,000 or so a year to participate, to be a partner in the Goodyear County GIS mapping. So this would replace that.
So it'd be cheaper.
So it's gonna be cheaper.
Yeah, probably a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, this is 12,
That's what we're thinking, yeah.
So the thing that's important to understand with this is this, right now, the way it's being used is basically just, it's just a map. There's some information, some of this data that I talk about that's been put into it, but it's not really being actively updated with information that we're gaining. We're gaining more information in the process in order to update it.
And they're not getting it updated the way you need it updated.
Yeah, and it's not anything that they're doing that's wrong.
Right.
It's just because we're already in the midst of all this infrastructure work
Right,
and
it's,
designing
yeah, not anything
projects, so
they're
it's
doing
just
wrong.
more efficient.
Right.
When it comes to, you know, the actual costs that you guys see go out the door with this, I will be completely honest with you, if you start using this more than what you are right now, it's gonna end up being more, because you're gonna be doing more with it, right? It's really the, you know, in addition to there's the annual cost for the actual subscription, that goes to this Esri company, that's separate from us. The additional cost beyond that really just comes down to how much help do you guys need from us. For some communities, they're calling multiple times a week with updates. Other communities, it's a couple times a year.
And that would be Wayne, right? He would be
It'd be Wayne.
most likely,
Yep.
most likely. What do you think? What do you think, Wayne?
I'm pushing hard for this.
Oh, you're pushing hard for it, okay.
So this is something that, not only would our mapping be faster, we'd have control over it. We could go out with our own GPS machine and we could shoot locates. So like a new house goes up, we put in tracer wire. We could go out and actually shoot that service as it's going in and then sit down and add that into our mapping system. Like right now, we do not have that capability. Some of the custom features we like, we do these street projects, we have Roto-Rooter or some company come in and video our sewer lines, and we get a little thumb drive or a VCR tape or a DVD, and we save it. Well, I've been using them so much that the files are being corrupted and they don't work anymore. But if you ask me to go look at a sewer pipe to see what's going on in this area, I gotta go to a paper map and find the manhole numbers. And then I gotta go through my files to find the manhole numbers on which VCR tape or DVD or thumb drive that correspond to those, and then watch the film and whatnot. So with this, we'd be able to click on it, it'd be right there. Our jetting records and stuff like that, we would just, if we clean the sewers this day, we'd hit it, enter the date, and that's it. So this would be,
So you can log a lot of, you'll be able to just log all your information on it all the time.
yes.
Just
And it's one of those
everything.
things that we can just keep building on it, and building on it, and building on it, add to it and add to it, and it's just moving everything digital instead of thumb drives and 3-ring binders. We'll have an iPad.
So the licensing is the $12.60 a year, but then when Wayne is giving you information, then it's gonna be like an hourly charge of when you're
Yeah,
updating
yeah,
it?
if he's asking for some type of help that he needs a GIS person for, then it would just be billed through general engineering, just like if, you know, Wayne or Mark calls on anything else here right now, so. You know, after this initial setup, you know, there's the $12.60, that's kind of the annual fee.
And I'm sorry, is that just if he's logging stuff, like if he's just basic everyday stuff that he's logging?
That's just, that's a license fee, that's like
So
an
that's
annual.
just the $12.60, that's just,
Yeah.
okay.
That's just an annual subscription.
It's just if you want something extra, and some extra help on something, then
Yeah, so
that's
then
an extra.
our time is completely separate from that. We
Okay.
both make bills, the city of Kenyon for that based, you know, it depends on exactly what they're requesting. Initially here for this request, there's, you know, to change over to this new system and do some of this custom setup that we've been talking about here. That's the Bolton and Main cost, and that's the $14,500. That's a one-time. Anything after that is gonna be, you know, most likely a much lesser amount on an annual basis, just because that amount that we'd be doing every year would be anywhere close to the amount of effort to, you know, get it up off the ground.
But it'll be a savings of Wayne's time, so right there, you won't have to go dig for everything, so.
And also we can't use too, so like with these projects, you've seen the big bundles of the as-bills that we get. Right now, I think I got like 2 totes full of as-bills rolled up, and I got a file cabinet drawer full of them. This would all be digitized and at a push of a button.
All they is,